Excited for the show. Like, we are really pumped.
Should be.
Yes. Awesome. So as sci-fi and horror fans, George R. R. Martin said, he read a critic that said you can't marry the two, and he said, F that, yeah I can, and created this. So we're all fans of sci-fi and horror. What would you say we should be most excited about that makes us like original and just totally excited?
The makes us original is always so hard because we haven't seen, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I feel like
For the concept at least.
in terms of the concept, there's so many, there's these 8 scientists, characters that are on the ship, and they all really are new to one another. They all have different reasons for being there. I think the fact that I'm a psychiatrist in charge of a telepath, again, without saying too much, it creates a lot of tension. I think it's the tension within the characters that will feel original, not because we haven't seen this sort of fear in space amongst a crew, but because everybody has a different set of reasons why they're there, and that becomes really more clear with each character as the season progresses. So you really get to see why there's Bami's character, and that she's porting into, she has ports, and she goes into different systems, and so I think that just opens it up. It's like having tentacles that are kind of endless, and exciting to explore. What do you think?
I thought that was really impressive, actually. I think when we're talking about horror, I think there's many different layers of horror. There's the gorish kind of horror of blood and guts and stuff. There's claustrophobia can be horror in itself. And there's the internal horror, the psychological horror. And I think what our show does really well is introduce different layers of horror and how these characters respond to it. Where we end up heading towards, which I found really exciting, is when these guys are forced into a position where it's about survival, and it's how their primal instincts start to kick in. I think that's what really becomes the catalyst of horror, and this type of horror. Because you can't escape, you can't go right, F this, I'm jumping the ship, you can't go anywhere. You're stuck and you're committed to it, so against your will,
Well, it's just when you say alone out to the same there's a sense of camaraderie, or maybe even a sense of tension, animosity as the horror heightens throughout the season.
It's almost hard to avoid. Each character's dealing with their own personal demons and just
And everything's sort of getting magnified, like each person's fears, each person's the love between people. Everything feels the closer we get, the further away from Earth we get, the more that energy is affecting everybody. And so you feel that the allegiances are weakening in some places, stronger in others, and paranoia, and I think in terms of also the sort of production values of this world that has been created, they're so high, the level I think you can see by the trailer the way that the spaceship looks, and it's very cinematic, the lenses they use, so the world of it is as much, I hate when people say it's like a character, I hate that, but it's as much a part of this sort of psychological spin that happens with everybody,
it starts to introduce its own energy.
Yeah.
And by the way, you explained that very well without giving away a spoiler. Because I was listening to it, I was seeing where it's going to go.
Wait, just say it one more time.
I probably did.
That was very impressive.
So what is your fear?
Dancing. What is my fear?
Well, the characters.
The character's fear.
Yeah, well,
So really quickly, you're starting this whole new series, brand new.
Yeah.
What are the first lines that each of you speak, your character speaks, and it's introduced in Nightflyers? What's your first line?
let me remember it.
Well, it's the teaser that we saw, and I think the first thing I say is, Dr. Agatha Matheson, the Nightflyer.
I'd say this mission could change the course of human history.
Ooh, that's a good line. That's a great line.
Yeah, and you did well with it.
Thank you.
So the set is actually, to go back to your point quickly about the set, that's not CGI. Like they actually built the whole spaceship, right? Like it's really that.
Yeah, we just didn't have outer space. That was all that was missing. It was pretty amazing. But the other thing that was amazing was that usually you would have a green screen, like if you're looking out the windows of the Theradome, or there were these different sets. And when we're doing like the mission launch and we're taking off, we'd look out the window and really be seeing Earth go by because of it was projected on the. So it was beautiful and moving. It was actually to sit there and think about the people that have done this before us. It was really kind of like weird. You could see it. In other words, as an actor, you didn't have to kind of go do all that tough. I always find that stuff so hard.
Last question.
I have.
Were either of you surprised with the directions your characters took? I mean, I know you can't tell us anything specifically, but were you surprised like where your characters started and then where they ended in that?
A little bit.
Okay.
No, a lot actually. Yeah.
Okay. Very
A lot.
surprised. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew a
But in
few
good
things.
way.
Yeah, I knew a couple.
Oh, did you?
I knew a couple little shreds of ideas, but there were certain plot things that were really sort of surprising that were there that I didn't know at all, and I was like, that's good to know now. Thanks,
Sorry,
guys.
yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh man, I just remembered so many.
Yeah. There's a
Oh,
lot of that. Yeah.
There's a lot.
That's exciting.
But it's good to be surprised, right? Keeps you on your toes. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time. Thank you. Yeah,
Us too.
You guys are excited.
And I know this is a bit of a generic question, but I'd love y'all's take on it because you're the EPs. What makes this so chilling? Because when you're going through the psych, it's almost like we have our own fears, and I may be scared of something he isn't, but what will make this so chilling to the broader audience?
It's funny, my answer is actually close to what you're talking about because, again, this is about a long journey into the part of space where people haven't gone before.
Yeah.
And everybody's trapped on a spaceship. And so, again, if you're doing horror, where's the horror going to come from? Well, we obviously have some external forces that we're going to apply to it. But the real tricky, scary stuff comes from the baggage that people brought with them. Because nothing can scare you if you don't have some flaws to exploit. And so the 10-episode journey is about all those sort of flaws being exploited different ways at different times.
Well, and there's a great hint of it in what you saw on screen. You see Owen's character with his daughter, and then you see the daughter later on the ship, and that's just a hint of what happens. But clearly, he's left his family behind, and now he's on the spaceship heading into the void, and sort of the baggage he has with his daughter is sort of being realized psychologically in horror on the ship.
So do we learn like a lot of the characters' backstories to like play through where they're going in the future?
Yeah, and there's a really cool element that's not in the book so much. Well, I guess it is in the book, but we have a memory pod where people can go in and sort of, I don't know if you've ever seen, I'm sure you've seen Sunshine. There's a room where people go to sort of like get grounded and decompress. Like, think a version of that with a memory pod where you can kind of, it's sort of a horror version now. Well, it becomes a horror version, but that's our way of sort of getting off the ship in psychological.
But this is obviously a science fiction show and a horror show. But do you, when you're not just pitching it but making it, do you view it yourself as making a space opera or making something entirely different?
I mean, for us, we're super character driven. So, and we're a good counterbalance to Jeff. Jeff is bananas, and he writes a lot of crazy psychological stuff. And our tendency is always to find a way to ground it and make it emotionally relatable. So, we we've never done horror before. And we've done some sci-fi working with Doug on movies like Edge of Tomorrow, which is super grounded. And that's been our whole approach here. So space opera was never our goal. It's always grounded psychological horror.
Yeah, we've had to pay attention to the horror because it's a core thing, but more than anything else, we day to day when we show up, it's character drama.
And we brought in people who are experts, and the thing that we learned in the show together is like there's a real science to horror, a real specific science, and there's people who really understand it, there's people who don't. And I think we got some people on board who really understand it.
Building anticipation in really, really specific ways. Surprising people with no anticipation in really, really specific ways. We're now, I think, well educated in the sort of the art, but it was new to us.
The trailers are terrifying, so good job.
Well, and it's great because that first trailer you saw, there's no dialogue. You know, I mean, she leaves her message, but like, it's chilling. It's just terrifying.
And it's homage to The Shining, which the panel, the different influences that are there.
Yeah, I was just having fun too.
You know, and that's funny because, like you said, you mentioned The Shining, and as if I remember correctly, they also talked about 2001. They talked about Alien. I also flash back to Event Horizon, especially with the daughter, because I remember that character who kept seeing their sick child and all of that, and it's like, this is a lot more
horror.
This is more psychological than supernatural horror, because the 80s film had kind of that, well, what exactly is going on? This very much tells you your own mind is scarier than anything that's out in the void.
And the 2001 aspect is one of those things that we've been holding back and talking about because we don't want to spoil it for people. But you know, in the same way that Hal is an influence in 2001, there's an aspect of that is revealed in the series that's really one of the main drivers of the show.
I mean, you're just saying the nature of the material, I think, made it easier. I mean, obviously what's hard is the bar that's been set for material related to Kubrick. But the novella is 100 pages, and we essentially mapped out a season's worth of television, out of 100 pages of a book. You're going to take some liberties. There's no way to pull every detail from 100 pages, so that's liberating. The intimidating part is what's come before us, the expectations.
But I mean, we also don't have to be religious about following a multi-book series that's hundreds and hundreds of pages, so that part is easy.
Do you see any similarities in just the emphasis on human psychology, in this case, in a fantastic scenario?
For sure, and also like big characters. Like George doesn't write a character who's like internal and small. Like even the characters that he thinks are internal and small have big personalities.
And that's fun.
I'd love to talk about we were talking about the set with some of the actors before and how it's not CGI, like the spaceship is the spaceship. And you also discussed, like, you learned a lot with classic horror, and in a lot of good classic horror, there's not a lot of special effects. It's the way you shoot it and the realistic sets. So was that something you really wanted to say from the beginning, like, hey, we want to make sure that we keep those elements in the show?
I think it's hard to, I don't know. Maybe it's because we hadn't done that much horror before.
Yeah.
It was less intimidating for us to think about scaring people with like well-designed shots and like character sequences than it was with visual effects. Because I think that's even harder.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I agree.
A lot of rap. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Nice.
Technically, I say something that you don't know it's me saying it. So I don't know if we should use that one. Because it's like I'm just giving crowd random information, which is that, I don't know, what can I say here? But then I guess my first line where it sort of introduces me is that I say to somebody else on the crew, of scientists. I'm like, are you nervous?
Yes.
They were like, what are your first lines? They're asking you now. What are your first lines that introduce your character?
What were your first line in the series?
On the show?
Fuck, dude. I think my first one was to you, right? That memory sweet thing, does that count?
It's they're not really because yeah,
See,
but
no,
you can't really
we're
say
just
that.
I have no idea. I actually can't remember. I said so many lines in this show and I can't remember.
You said all the lines
I was like, I'm
every
not going to
day.
say this. I can't remember. I think I was having a nice conversation actually about the idea of aliens existing on the moon.
Yeah.
That might have been, but I don't know what I was actually talking about. It's about being friends or something.
We're like, no spoilers.
I know, watch yourself.
Were you guys surprised about the arcs that your characters took? Like from where you started to where you ended? Obviously without specifics. Really shocking.
You know, I had the chance to go to the writer's room ahead of filming before I left LA and sit down with everyone in there and sit down with Jeff and you know, we kind of talked about what my art could be. So in a way I wasn't so much surprised about that journey, but I was definitely surprised in that I had no idea what was going to happen in between, or even exactly what it would look like at the end.
Because your character is not strictly human.
No, I am human.
Oh, okay.
I'm human, but I've just my genes have been my genes have been modified in vitro. So you know, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the CRISPR program.
Yeah.
Or like we actually have the technology already to like, you know,
Gene edit, yeah.
gene edit, but it's like it's controversial because it's like, you know, well, where are the lines, what are the limits, what are those? But you know, in this world of Nightflyers, you know, we are doing that. We are editing the genes of humans, and so I'm not, you know, an alien. I'm not a non-human. I am like, you know, I had a mother and father.
But do other humans treat you differently because you've been genetic?
Well, you know, Mel has spent her whole life up until the point of the mission sort of in a program for people that have been, you know, engineered in the way that she has and training to live her life in that way. So, I mean, in the sense that people have always had an expectation of her to go down a certain path, sure. But she was definitely, you know, it's definitely a time when it's like in vogue for that kind of thing to be happening, and then especially she was a part of a program where it's like everybody is doing that. In that program, Mel was the best and the brightest, which is why she was selected by Carl Brannon to come and be a part of this incredible mission.
The reason why Mel ends up being selected by Carl is Carl needs to put together a crew of scientists to basically trust him to go into space, and there's no proof that what he's talking about actually is valid. So the reason why Mel ends up going along with Carl is because Carl needs to have somebody who's also been, you know, she's been designed for space travel, and Carl's a astrophysicist who doesn't actually want to go on these journeys, doesn't want to be involved in this at all. But because he's the only one who understands and is aware of where the aliens might actually be and is able to possibly contact, he has to. He's very personal, obsessive reasons for doing that. So Mel is there along with the other scientists as part of this kind of crew he puts together to basically be a support structure to try and meet the aliens. And Mel's the only one who's ever kind of got any kind of idea of what being in space constitutes. All these scientists, apart from the crew, don't want the scientists on board in the first place because they're going on a mission that no one's ever done, and there's if anything goes wrong, there's nothing can help them. They don't know what it's like to be in space. You've got a bunch of people who actually don't know how to exist in space, cohabiting in a scenario when everyone's kind of stuff becomes very visceral, very intense, very quick. So Mel is the only one who has any kind of training or even kind of physical capabilities to cope with.
David and Jean were talking about how every character kind of comes with their own baggage and their fear is drawn from that. I know you probably can't say exactly what yours were because it might give away spoilers, but when you discovered, okay, this is going to be your foundation of fear that will carry out your character, were you surprised by that, and did you have to look to different experiences outside, you know, say, okay, how am I going to play this out?
No, I mean, I didn't really, in terms of, it's very specific and it kind of, for me, that the very idea of where Carl's fear comes from is a very personal thing. But it's also very personal to me, but also very personal to the character of the show. And I think it'll happen to connect to everybody because it's like, how far are you willing to go to sacrifice for something you believe in? But everyone's kind of version of that's very subjective. So what Carl believes he should or can do or shouldn't do isn't going to be the same as Mel's or perhaps as anybody else's. And so that's when you kind of end up in conflict. And so that kind of personal journey for the character, I understood it. It's a very kind of specific journey, but it does obviously then get convoluted and kind of gets more complex as it goes on.
And I think for Mel, it's like more than anything because it's unique. Mel is unique in that she has been spending her life kind of thinking about doing something, and not specifically in that, she wouldn't have known that there was an alien race that we're going to go for, but, just like this idea of, going on a mission, being in space, being a part of something that's bigger than herself, that's always kind of been what her life is driven towards. So I think more than anything, one of her biggest fears is this idea of failing or of not being able to do this thing that she spent her whole life sort of training to do. And I think that in the face of, as we know, there's a lot of death on this show. That's something where it's like it's a very real for her. It's definitely less about something, dealing with someone in her life versus it's more about purpose. Failing purpose, dying. That's kind of just the thing. But obviously the bigger thing, we all fear death, I think, as humans. But just that not fulfilling purpose. That sort of is driving Mel throughout the series.
What else do you have to live for if you can't fulfill your purpose?
And if everyone thinks if you're supposed to be this, perfect being, and then you're not, then who are you?
Deep stuff. I love it.
It's a thinker of a show.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
It's a very visceral and very aggressive and complex emotional show. I don't know, I was exhausted when we finished the show. It was a great one. And you look back and you're like, holy fuck, what just happened?
Right.
And it's kind of show I actually want to watch. I'm actually excited about it. Because you want to do stuff that you actually also want. I binge watch shows and this is going to be fun. Enjoy watching this.
But I told all my friends not to binge.
I love Stranger Things at the moment. I'm waiting for the second season.
The trolley station outside then?
There's a trolley station?
It's like Stranger Things.
But we need to let people know, all of our fans in the US of A, we're not binge watching this show, we're watching it every week.
On TV.
But if you're international,
Right.
on Netflix,
Right.
I will be live tweeting. I will be live tweeting from wherever I am. Okay, we'll be watching weekly. Because I need to see what happens. Okay, I just spent 5 months on a spaceship.
She's like, damn it, I need to see how this plays out.
I need to know what happens. Just